Hey guys, welcome back to the Petitt Life. We're getting ready to do the Ghost and Graveyards tour. So here in Savannah. So
Look at the bus, how cute.
yeah, hope you guys enjoy it.
Hey, it's Jada.
Hey, it's Jason,
And welcome to the Petitt Life.
If you look to your left, you'll see the tail end of the Savannah River. Over the years, this river has been dredged so deep, her deceptively calm surface now hides a wicked and blood-thirsty current 47 feet deep. Since Savannah's founding, no less than 2 lives a year are lost to that monster, whether it be by falling, jumping, being pushed into its depths. It wasn't long ago that River Street was just as deadly as her namesake. These shops and restaurants around you began life as cotton warehouses, pubs, and chandleries. Nothing more but a place for ships to unload their wares, resupply, and grab a round or two before heading back out to sea. Those rowdy sailors made this riverfront rather dangerous after dark. But I'm sure nothing can hurt us while we're on the trolley. Coming up to our right, though, friends, is one of these old warehouses that you will know by its dark burgundy shutters. In 1890, this was the original location of the Tidewater Oil Company, and a building filled to the brim with barrels upon barrels of precious oil. These barrels were bought up by shipping companies that operated in and out of the port, and business was booming. Our building of interest is to our right now, friends. And while everything was good, there's always a few bad apples in the bunch, right? Such is the case for one spirit the old harbor inn affectionately knows as Hank. Hank was said to be in possession of a fiery temper, often getting into arguments with management and the factors of the warehouse. Everyone thought Hank was all bark and no bites, until one violent argument on a morning of 1892 pushed him over the edge. Fuming from the encounter that night, Hank takes a nearby oil lantern and storms into the storage rooms. Looking for something to take his frustrations out on, Hank flings that lantern into a room filled with oil. The lantern shatters, the oil ignites, and soon the building is in flames, along with the entire east end of River Street. Fortunately, no injuries were reported and no deaths listed, except for that one guy. It's believed Hank was the only casualty of the fire, and the reason the building is so haunted to this day. The old Harbor Inn opened in 1987, and guests that stay in room 406 report Hank isn't going too quietly into his afterlife. Imagine waking up to an alarm clock you didn't set, smell of burning oil radiating throughout your room. You run to the door, but the handle's red hot, and when you do get it open, not a single sign of smoke or fire anywhere. Oh, we think it's just Hank. Temper is fiery as ever. Right now, though, friends, I'd like you to direct your attention to the streets below the trolley. Honeycombed throughout this part of the city are subterranean tunnels, the most well-known of which will lead us to the Pirate's House. Built in 1753, the Pirate's House is the oldest building in Georgia, and was a place well known for sailors to stop and share tales of glory from out on the high seas, and perhaps replenish their ranks. It said when English and French privateers needed a few extra deckhands, they'd slip a coin to the bartender who'd slip something into an unsuspecting patron's beer. The next morning, that poor soul would wake up on a ship bound for China and with a new career. I assure you, though, Shanghai is only a recruitment tactic used in piracy. Trust me. The Pirate House is this gray building with haze blue shutters to our left. But I'd like you to look to those upper floor windows. Is anyone here familiar with the names of Ed and Lorraine Warren? If not, just know this couple of demonologists is well known for being the first to investigate the Amityville horror case and inspiring movies such as The Conjuring and Annabelle. Several years ago, the Warrens had the special opportunity of investigating the normally forbidden upper level. To aid in their investigation, they called upon the help of a local medium. But when the big night rolled around, he was running a little late. When that medium finally arrived at the pirate's house, he looked to those upper floor windows and saw 3 distinct figures staring down at him. In a panic, he thought the Warrens had started the investigation without him, so he ran into the front room just to find Ed and Lorraine waiting patiently. Seems the manager of the pirate's house was also a bit behind and had yet to arrive for the investigation to begin. And that leaves us with the question, just who was upstairs? And I assure you our alibis are tight. To this day, though, it seems the basement is the main focus of much of the strange activity in the pirate's house, with employees reporting odd voices and laughter bubbling up from the cellar. One former waiter, fascinated with tales of piracy and Shanghai sailors, snuck down into those tunnels for an investigation of his own. He navigated the dark passageways before coming to a wall of rubble. But he did hear voices echoing behind him. He hides, thinking it's his manager come looking. But what passes by instead is 5 men in 19th century clothing, laughing as they carry an unconscious body between them and disappear right through that rubble. That waiter put in his 2-second notice. Now, in a city so prevalent with the dead, you'd think it's hard for an ambitious spirit to stand out in the crowd, right? Some choose to be a little violent, but there's one who makes her bones in a much more playful way. In the 1790 inn and restaurant, Miss Anna is a true celebrity. Anna's story is one that's fallen into myth more than most, taking on wildly divergent paths. Regardless, her story always ends the same. The 1790s to our left now, and once again, do look to those upper floor windows, just above that gray awning. Oh, I do hope someone catches Anna this time. Anna's story is one that always ends with throwing herself out the window of room 204. Over the years, Anna has come to terms with her afterlife by becoming one of Savannah's most notorious ghostly pranksters.
Yeah.
In 2015, a pair of ladies found themselves staying in room 204 around Christmas time. They left their luggage on the bed, intending to unpack after a nice dinner downstairs. Upon returning to their room, they were shocked not only to find their bags open, but several sensitive articles of clothing had gone missing. They turned the room upside down looking for their lost items before running angrily to the front desk. While waiting for the manager, one lady notices, out of the corner of her eye, Christmas tree just down the hall. To the women's utter shock and embarrassment, their undergarments had been delicately placed upon its branches. We don't get too many white Christmases down here. In 2012, a couple rather skeptical of the paranormal were staying in room 204 and taking our trolley tour. Before hopping aboard, they made sure the lights in their room were off. But you can imagine their faces as the trolley rolls by. And not only are the lights on, but an eerie fog and a female silhouette stare at them out their own bedroom window. That isn't to say Anna lacks for company, though. There's another spirit who's anything but a prankster. Not much is known about her, except she was a former cook of the establishment and a practitioner of voodoo. Importantly, she claims the kitchen as her territory and doesn't take too kindly to the female waitstaff. You'll know she's near by the metallic jangling of the bracelet she wore in life, before a spice jar goes flying past an unsuspecting head, or a waitress gets her ear boxed. But not all spirits in Savannah are so uninviting. Rather, some are unwanted house guests themselves, whether you know that as roommates, in-laws, children. Friends, I ask you to look behind me to this yellow brick building with a green awning. And this here is 210 East State Street, an apartment complex built in 1924. And it's here a couple encountered what they know as the Earl Grey Ghost. This pair loved everything about their home to our right, except every few days they come into the kitchen and find a used teacup on the table. They asked around, thinking a neighbor was playing a prank. No one confessed, and that teacup would reappear. Frustrated, they finally reached out to the former tenant of their apartment, Rodney. See, Rodney'd been forced to move out when his girlfriend refused to be anywhere near the building. She'd come into the kitchen one morning to find Rodney's mother, whom she'd never met, sitting at the table enjoying a nice cup of tea. The two exchange pleasantries before Rodney gets a scolding from his girlfriend for not warning her that his mother was coming over. Then Rodney shares the news that his mother had been dead for 2 years. Shortly after moving in, Mother had come to visit and suffered a stroke at that kitchen table, falling face first into her cup of Earl Grey. Obviously, this disturbed the new renters, but the Savannah housing market is scary enough. So they left a note for Rodney's mother in compromise that went a little something like, "Dear Madam, Rodney doesn't live here anymore, but if you'd like to visit, here is his new address." Believe it or not, friends, that worked, and the pair never heard from Rodney's mother again. Not to the gate. This here is Colonial Park Cemetery, Savannah's oldest existing cemetery, and one of our city's finest restorations. The burials began in 1750 and ended roughly a century later, with more than 12,000 bodies interred within. In 1853, the decision was made to open Laurel Grove Cemetery, as it was becoming impossible to bury new bodies without disturbing the old ones. As we make this cemetery drive, friends, know that each and every one of these 700 tombstones is not only a burial marker, but a story. Over the years, several have fallen into vandalism and disrepair, changing their story. I do have a favorite. Susanna Gray, killed by the will of God, struck down by lightning, July 26th of 1812. Her headstone's been recarved to read she was the age of 121 years, 1,124 days. That's wrong. Friends will soon be arriving at our first stop of the evening, the Andrew Lowe House, completed in 1849 by New York architect John Norse for the wealthy family of Andrew Lowe to reside on Lafayette Square. Andrew was a wealthy cotton factor whose son would later go on to marry Juliet Gordon Lowe, founder of the Girl Scouts. Upon Juliet's death in 1927, the home was sold to the National Society of the Colonial Dames of America in the state of Georgia by the trustees of her estate. Since 1950, the home has operated as a museum when the sun is up. But when the sun goes down, we hear echoes and gravestones at the exclusive opportunity of venturing inside.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful.
I welcome you to the parlor rooms of the home. On one side, the informal parlor, where you can imagine the children playing cards or reading these elephant books. And on the other, the formal parlor, which holds a documented haunted object. Any guesses? No. No. Friends, gaze at this beautiful pianoforte along the wall. Its upright design, while gorgeous, quite inconvenient for music making, as gravity pulls on the strings so much so, the instrument needs to be retuned every 2 to 3 hours.
Wow.
I don't have the patience for that. So the strings have since been cut. There's no way you're hearing a song out of that thing anytime soon. But it doesn't stop a few notes or a melody from ringing out on occasion. I've heard it. I think it's quite sweet. Do follow me across this hall.
Mm-hmm. On a piano.
I welcome you to the library or study of the home. And adjoining this library and the dining room is the butler's pantry. I welcome you to the dining room of the home, one of the more lavishly decorated rooms. It's here after dinner the men would retire to converse, talk business, smoke a few hand-rolled cigars. Smoking has been prohibited in the Lowe House for quite some time, but that doesn't stop the earthy aroma from wafting through once in a while. It was also in this area of the home, albeit below us in the basement, and there is a large working desk. And sitting here were two accountants, totaling up figures and sums. Ran from the week, when motion started, and they turned to watch a stack of filing cards fly across the room and land in the center. And they did what accountants do best. They booked it. We do have a few more moments in here, and I implore you, take your pictures in that mirror. Sometimes you'll show up. Sometimes you won't. Well, it's our turn to go upstairs now, friends. Do hold on to these handrails. Or on any doorways.
Up here, Claire.
I welcome you to the bedroom floor of the home. As you can tell, it's divided into 5 rooms, each named for those who spent the most or most notable time within. You'll also note 1 bathroom. In a family consisting mostly of women, nightmare itself. This room across from being pinkish in color is the Low bedroom, named for Mary Lowe and Juliet Gordon Lowe. Seems the women of this family have always been particularly drawn to it, and as an effect, dumped to die in it. Mary Lowe in 1863, and Juliet at the window in 1927. It's these deaths, perhaps, what gives the room itself such sadness. Not often, but on anniversaries, of course. In 1979, a tropical storm ripped through Savannah, and the Lowe house was shuttered and sandbagged. When the rains petered out, a pair of society ladies came to assess the damages. When they entered the home, they heard muffled sobbing. Thinking someone had broken in to weather out the storm, they investigated. The further they got into the home, the louder the crying became, until they were at the Low bedroom, and it was outright wailing. No one was inside, but so overcome with sadness themselves, the ladies fled the home. It wasn't until weeks later anyone noticed, yes, the home had withstood the storm. But the day the ladies visited was June 17th, the anniversary of Mary Lowe's death. This room to my right, blue in color, is the Eliza Stiles bedroom, named for Mary's mother, who moved in following her daughter's passing to help watch the children across the hall. And while the room is named for her, we're not certain it's Eliza's spirit that lingers. We believe the entity in that room to be her husband, William Henry Stiles. William Stiles was a retired colonel of the Civil War who came to the Lowe house to recover from an illness. Recover he did not. And in 1865, he would pass away of pneumonia, a few years and a few feet from his daughter. Now, for many years, the Lowe house employed a housekeeper who quite liked her job. And she'd arrive early, begin cleaning the basement, working floor by floor, coming to the bedrooms. Occasionally, she'd glance a figure in the rocking chair, and although she'd call in, "Hello, Mr. Lowe," we're fairly certain it's not Andrew. See, Andrew was in England when he died, but William Stiles was here. For that reason, we believe William Stiles to be rocking away in his afterlife, over and over and over and over. We have a few more moments up here, friends, for you to take any last-minute photos. If you have questions, I will answer to the best of my ability. Watch your step into the dark.
Nice and cool in here.
Yeah, buddy.
Welcome to the Parkinson Sunships Chandlery. Inside are all manner of wonderful things, but my very favorite is right behind you. And this here is a Victorian, one-size-fits-all, cast-iron coffin. These were built for burial at sea, and this one here was fished out of the Mississippi. You heard me right. One size fits all. I don't think I'd have any problem squeezing in, but to be safe, we'd start with a butcher's knife to my ankles and work our way up. For someone broader than I, perhaps pinning back the shoulders, or better yet, lobbing them right off. Hacking, chopping, anything to make sure every piece of you ends up in here, with your face in this porthole for one last goodbye. Now the most wonderful of wonders the Chandlery has to offer is behind this door here. And would you like to know how I know that? Because it says Private, which must be Italian. Follow me this way, friend. Well, now that everyone's seated, there are a few stories I'd love to share. Oh, it's that cat! You'll have to excuse me. I've been trying to catch it forever.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you people? It was a rhetorical question anyway. First, I want to say thanks for coming out tonight to bother me while I'm trying to work. Secondly, and I say this to the bottom of my heart, this has got to be the most sorrowful group I've ever seen tonight. Most of you look like you don't work a day in your lives. Not like that, man. That's Henry. Henry Willing, long dead as he still goes stomping off to work all the time. Henry had one great true love of his life. Then he was married twice. Somebody got it. The rest of y'all can catch up later. His first love was on a boat in a river out there, fell off and drowned. His first wife died of yellow fever, the devil's sea. Second wife was up and died for no apparent reason whatsoever. They're all just dying to get away from Henry. Like most men, Henry buried himself in his work, trudging night after night at odd hours to his shipyards just to keep the nightmares at bay. You see, during the war between the states, Henry's shipyards churned out Confederate engines of war. Famous ironclads like the CSS Georgia. That's now been raised off the shores of old Fort Jackson. After the war, Henry's sons stood shoulder to shoulder with their proud father at their shipyards, which by now dominated River Street. It was May 1866, I want to say. Alexander, Henry's eldest son, was walking to work that day when he spied some dockmen trying to load a heavy pallet onto a cargo ship. The rope jammed up in the blocking tackle high on the crane. Alexander climbs that crane just to work the damaged pulley to load ships. The help was horrible, though. Henry watches. Alexander tries to make his way to the safety of the boom, and just when he thought he made it, the load shifted. Saw that over there. Mine said go, but your feet said no, right? Alexander plummets to the wharf below, shattering the skull, fracturing his bones. He lingers for 4 hours on his deathbed. When Savannah hear the heavy trot of footsteps in these warehouses, on those cobblestone streets outside, they notice step aside. It's Henry on his way to work. Footsteps. It's all that remains of an industrious life. See, when I first started, geez, you'll hear that. Every night, the same thing, never stops, ridiculous. Quiet out there! What? My mother's a saint. I hate those guys. Yes, Savannah's drinking gin. Sounds like your vacation here, Savannah, doesn't it? It's actually a sound of revolution. It sounds of the Sons of Liberty. It's through the antics of those patriots by hanging King George as a dummy. The redcoats shut the ports down here in Savannah, leaving all this cotton in the hulls of the ships to rot away. Soon boredom sets in. And after a hard day of downing the rum, a hazy plan forms in the mind of a drunken sailor. He and his buddies would protest the closure. They found an empty dockman's cart, put up a makeshift gallows, then with a promise of wine, women, and song, they recruited a cabin with a stand on the structure. Dressed him up like a redcoat, put a noose around his neck, and then they found an old moldy mask of King George, and they slammed it over the boy's noggin. So now it's time to take the show on the road. Because after all, this is a grand scheme concocted by drunken sailors. What could possibly go wrong? They take that contraption, start pushing it down the cobblestone streets, laughing, running, having a good old time. Cabin boy hanging on for dear life because he wasn't quite having a good old time. But by now, though, the rum has worked its magic, and the boys find it's time for another round. So he's swaggering McHenry's Tavern, all proud of himself, but he forgot somebody, the cabin boy. He struggles that paper mache mask, but it catches on the noose and he slips off the stool and he slowly strangles. To death. Now, dozen McHenry's papers pass the boy right by. None bother to stop. It's after all. Doesn't this look like just any other political dummy? They say the ghost of the American Revolution still haunts Savannah. You hear their songs in the alleys off Fabner's Walk. I'm pretty sure the devil ain't serving them a whole lot of rum. I smelled rain. Storm's approaching. It's not good to be on a river a night like tonight. Strange things happen during these storms. I'm looking at several right now. Saw warehouses was stood a lot worse than this. Y'all be safe here. At least in the storm, anyway. Let's ride this one out with one last tale, shall we? Okay. That wasn't rhetorical. So, shall we?
Yeah.
I was going to do it anyway. Just need a little support. Let me ask you, if any of you ever slept the sleep of the dead, you know what I'm talking about? In a heart of darkness on a night like tonight, you feel very relaxed. Can't move a muscle, can't even raise an arm. Next day, aren't you tired? Now, if this has happened to you, then you've been ridden by the hag. No doubt around these parts, the boo hag's a special kind of witch. The Gullah Geechee folks say she could take the shape of a cat. She just came in the window looking for you. Flew right at lady's head over there. Some say she takes the shape of a cat with a mist coming down. Some say she sits on your chest. Others say she rides your back. Either way, the results are the same. You feel very calm, yet the next morning you're exhausted. As if the life has been drained right out of you. And it has been, because the witch has sustained her own life by draining you of yours. Now, the story goes there was a doctor by the name of Clay who worked the area around. His work was suffering, though, due to lack of sleep. His wife had her own sleepless nights, so she knew Clay was hag-ridden. She even knew the witch's name, Melinda Edmond. Clay just laughs off her ravings, his paranoia and southern superstition, but he believes her anyway. His mind racing, Clay runs to Tin City, where he speaks to a conjure man. Gave Clay some strange advice. There's room across your door. Tie a silver coin around your wife's ankle and sleep with the Holy Bible under your pillow. Clay, well, he ignores all but the last one. I probably want to keep he doesn't want to keep the witch away. He wanted to catch her. He all starts to sleep with an axe handle. At a night like tonight, Clay hears a sound in his room. A whisper, almost like a breeze. Hears his wife moan, but she doesn't stir. Clay leaps out of bed and swings it. Can't find it anywhere. There it is on the other side of the room. Clay shakes with that axe handle. That cat runs away, jumps out the window. Clay follows into a driving rain. inside. Three up on top of the piano back there. Yeah, you three up there talking to you. It's kind of a little creepy up there. Yeah, I know, I should tell them. Folks, we've been visited here tonight at Chandler by three little strangers. They're the ghosts of unnamed children who died here long ago. Y'all can't see them, but they can see you. I guess that just makes it easier for them to, follow you home.
That was fun.
Are we all still in here? We have places to go, friends. Back to the trolley. I am sorry I had to leave you for a little bit there. You think that cat would run out of lives at some point, though, right? Unfortunately, friends, our time together is soon drawing to the end. But I do have a chance to pose one last question. Why is it we call Savannah the most haunted city in the United States? Is it perhaps because ours is a city where history and legend walk hand in hand? Or is it because we know we are a city built on our restless dead? Savannah folklore says on Christmas Eve night, a young man partaking in the holiday festivities found himself in possession of a large party horn. You know, the type annoying. He made his way down Oglethorpe Avenue, and just as he passed Colonial Park Cemetery, the city clock struck midnight. Something about the chimes reminded the young man of his party horn, which he brought to his lips and let out a long, thundering blast. As the sound faded away, ghostly figures rose from their tombs and crypts, pouring over the fences and surrounding the young man. In any other situation, he'd be scared out of his mind. But he already met the spirit of Jack Daniels that evening. So he stood his ground and he asked, "What do you want?" To which the spirits responded, "Are you not Gabriel? We heard the sound of the horn and thought it was the archangel himself sounding the end time." To which the young man responded, "No." Disappointed, those spirits slithered back through the cemetery fences. It's said at the time of death, all names are forgotten, and you are known only by that which characterized you in life. In the cemetery, these spirits saw glowing tributes carved into the stones for those who rested below. But they've been dead for so long, so hasty in their exit, not a single shade could identify which hole in the ground was theirs. Their fruitless search continued on until morning, and when the sun arose in the sky, so did the spirits, before scattering across the countryside, where they still roam, looking for a place to rest. Tonight, friends, we've traveled through the darker side of Savannah's historic district. You've gone to explore one of our haunted mansions and seen the shadows of forgotten battlefields. Savannah's past is one that affords us a rather unique relationship with our dead. One that has swung so often between partial denial to open celebration. Today, we remember the dead as those who truly love this city. Those whose tragedy and death touch our hearts. And those who may be dead and gone, but their memory will carry on. I hope you've enjoyed our ghostly tales this evening.
So our trolley guide, Helena, was absolutely awesome. We think maybe she might be a student at SCAD, the Savannah School for Art and Design, as an actress or something. If not, she should be, because she was excellent. We had a good time. Hopefully you guys did too. This is definitely something we would recommend. Of course, we didn't film every little bit of it. This thing's about an hour and a half long, but we wanted to just get the parts of it that we thought would pique the most interest and let people, decide whether or not they want to check it out for themselves. So, once again, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we would definitely do it again.
As always, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for our next big adventure. Like, share, and subscribe to get that content.